immediately set free persons accused of the most dire acts of corruption, often on mere technicalities. And after quite a number of them have been convicted by the trial and appellate courts.
Well, there have been loud reactions from different quarters to the Friday decision by the president. The European Union Election Monitoring Group reacted. The United States and the United Kingdom office in Nigeria have also reacted. Their reaction showed dissatisfaction to the move made by the president. The main opposition party too, the PDP too, they've reacted. But yesterday, the acting CJN, Tanko Ibrahim, swore in about 250 members of the Elections Petitions Tribunal, and he did confess about the kind of tough situation the Nigerian judiciary has found itself.
The judiciary is in a trying time. You must, and I repeat, you must stand to protect and uphold the integrity of this arm of government.
That's about 24 hours or less, by the way, after he was sworn. So there's been another controversy about, has he planned this before, or how did he come about composing those that will make up the Petition Tribunal Committee for the elections? There's another issue anyway. That on one hand, just hold it there. There have been a series of criticism to the decision of the president, the legality and the effect on constitutionalism, the rule of law, and Nigeria's democracy. And so tonight, we'll get some insight from an experienced Nigerian lawyer, rights activist, and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, joins us on the program tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
It's a tough time for the Nigerian judiciary, isn't it?
I agree with you.
Perhaps
very tough, and trying period.
Perhaps the toughest you've seen in your years of practice, is it?
I think so. It's the most trying period for the judiciary of Nigeria.
Does the president have the powers to suspend a sitting Chief Justice of Nigeria?
I think before I answer your question, you just talk about the inauguration of the members of the Election Petition Tribunal. And I think I need to make that correction. The members are not selected by the Chief Justice. They are selected by the President of the Court of Appeal, right? They are only inaugurated by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. So, an acting president appointed on Friday couldn't have possibly assembled 250 judges across the country for inauguration on Saturday. So it's not, we need to correct that.
So it's not premeditated as some people are
are
suggesting.
I mean, many of them have traveled from far and near. So they couldn't just have been asked to be in Abuja. The program was already arranged.
Because the speculation is also that Justice Onogan will probably do that inauguration on Monday or so, and before the suspension came. So a lot of people are worried that the whole essence of his suspension is benchmarked on the role that he will be playing ahead of the election.
For me, I really don't. I've refrained from engaging in speculations. I deal with the facts on ground. And I have made this point repeatedly clear. The Supreme Court does not get involved in election petitions until, I mean, the case of presidential election from the Court of Appeal. There must be an appeal from the Court of Appeal. And of course, in the case of governorship election, from the Court of Appeal, after you have gone through the Election Petition Tribunal. So, but for those who are linking this with the election, I don't want to go there. I mean, your question is whether the president has the power to suspend the Chief Justice of Nigeria with profound respect. Having regards to Section 292 of the Constitution, as well as the powers of the NJC, clearly spelled out in the schedule to the Constitution. The power to suspend a sitting judge in Nigeria, including the Chief Justice, has to be on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. But in this case, the president was reported to have acted on an ex parte order of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. I have publicly decried the procedure. And for me, the procedure for dealing with a criminal case is as important as the trial itself. If you get it wrong, too bad. And a government can never be in a hurry. A government can never be allowed to engage in jungle justice or self-help. Unfortunately, this time around, both sides, both the judicial arm of government and the executive arm of government, have disappointed Nigerians.
In what way?
Ours is the only country in the world. And I have challenged my colleagues to tell me any modern state, apart from banana republics, where you go to courts to forum shop for court order. No. Once your client is invited by the police or any law enforcement agency, what we are taught in the law school, what students are taught in the law school, is that you can accompany your client to the police station. Ask for the bail of your client. If bail is refused, go to the court, go to the high court to ask for bail. But you cannot, on the invitation of your client by a law enforcement agency, go to court to say, thou shalt not invite my client. Thou shalt not investigate my client. Thou shalt not try my client. It's not part of our law.
So those ex parte injunctions and those orders are wrong?
Under our law. Because by virtue of Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, once a trial commences, there shall be no stay of proceedings, no suspension.
Expressly.
And I think that was what the lawyers to the Chief Justice did by filing an objection in that tribunal. In that tribunal. There's no way any court anywhere can stop the prosecution before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Because, my Lord, the Honorable Justice Onogan, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, had said in the case of Saraki and the Federal Republic of Nigeria that the Code of Conduct Tribunal is the only court, only forum exclusively empowered to deal with breaches of Code of Conduct for public officers. So you can't go to a national industrial court or a customary court of appeal or a federal high court, which has no jurisdiction on allegations of breaches of the Code of Conduct.
So,
no.
It's an advocate. So you are saying because the defendants in the case, the lawyers to the CJN had gone to the National Industrial Court, they've gone to the Federal Court of Appeal.
No,
those are wrong?
No. So what I'm saying, those who went to those courts are lawyers who I'm not quite sure now whether they are part of the legal team. But if your job is at stake in channels, I cannot, as Femi Falana, go to court for you because I'm not aggrieved. You are the one aggrieved. So those orders cannot stand. But what the government ought to have done was to have gone to those courts to challenge the order. The most embarrassing one, right, is the one from the National Industrial Court. That court is a labor court, a court established to deal with dispute arising from the termination or dismissal of workers or intra-union or inter-union disputes. It has nothing to do with the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who has been appointed under the Constitution. So when you go to the National Industrial Court, you are given the dangerous impression that the Chief Justice is an employee of the president. Therefore, don't allow his boss to remove him. That is, for me, rather bonkun. So we must learn to operate under the rule of law. So You now play into the hands of a regime that was determined to embarrass the country, as it were, by putting the Chief Justice on suspension. That's what has happened.
The premise on which the president is acting, the court order that the president, the federal government got the court order to suspend. The court order is actually saying that the defendant shall step aside, and he's also asking the president to also take necessary measures to swear in the most senior. So, what premise would you count these court order?
Let me be honest with you. No court, not even the Supreme Court, can order somebody occupying an office. I'm not talking of the Chief Justice now. Anybody occupying an office to vacate ex parte, because you have already determined his rights and obligations in his absence. As the late Abiola, MK Abiola will say, you can't shave my head in my absence. You can ask for an injunction to say somebody should not assume office because somebody else is occupying the office. But you cannot, on an ex parte basis, remove somebody from office and then ask somebody to take his place.
So CCT saying that the CJN should step aside is wrong.
No, it's not possible. I mean, and that's why I have advised the lawyers to the Chief Justice have to approach either the Code of Conduct Tribunal or the Court of Appeal to challenge the legality of such an order. And if you look at the order, as I've described it, for me, it's like a suspect document. According to that order, the lawyer that moved the motion is not stated. The date, according to the order, the motion ex parte was filed on the 9th, whereas the charge itself was filed on the 11th.
What do you make of the fact that the following day after, the Court of Appeal also had an order over this matter?
No, again, as I said, with profound respect to the Court of Appeal. Again, the Court of Appeal cannot make an order restraining the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
So there's been wrongful...
Just a minute. From performing what belongs to it exclusively, a duty conferred on it exclusively by the Constitution. Because in the case of Olisametu and Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, led by the Honorable Justice Walter Onoge, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, upheld Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 to the fact that no court in Nigeria has the power to stay proceedings in any criminal court. And in the case of Saraki and Federal Republic of Nigeria, Justice Onoge, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, did say that the administration of the Criminal Justice Act is applicable in the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
So, Senior Advocate, from the process of which this trial was emanated, from where the CCB took this petition to the CCT, a lot of people have faulted the process, the petition and all of that. So there's been a wrong in all of this process all along.
No. You see, let us be very careful here. If I receive a petition on the 9th, and the Chief Justice was confronted on the 10th, and he made this statement, I'm sorry I made an error. I forgot to declare my assets. What else do you want to do? Of course, the president talks of the alacrity with which court orders were being procured. Of course. The filing of a charge within 48 hours can also be said to have been done with alacrity. But you see, I am saying, my colleagues, frankly speaking, played into the hands of the executive. I had, like many other lawyers, insisted that the National Judicial Council be allowed to desist of this matter, conduct an inquiry, and make appropriate recommendations to the authorities. Unfortunately, the National Judicial Council was to have held his 88th statutory meeting on the 15th of January. Members from outside Abuja had arrived the city when they suddenly received a terse SMS to the fact that the meeting has been postponed indefinitely with regrets on the directive of the Chief Justice. So again, you made it impossible for the NJC to take control of this matter. Perhaps if the NJC had met last week and taken a decision, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Mr. Falana, the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that we are drifting into a case of, the Senate President said this is a coup on Nigerian democracy. And that the Speaker was talking about the fact that Nigeria and this decision is a dictatorial, that we're drifting to dictatorship.
I don't want to go to, with profound respect.
Are those words right description to what we're facing right now? With
profound respect, I don't want to comment on the views being expressed by certain individuals in the country. I had warned that Nigerians have to be prepared to defend this rickety democratic process. I've warned against our descent to fascism. And I'm not talking of the APC alone. The current Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, sacked a chief judge in Kwara State, Justice Elelu Habib, in 2009, by merely sending a letter to the House. I'm removing the chief judge of the state. Of course, the case went from the Federal High Court to the Supreme Court. And in 2012, the Supreme Court decided, the 7 justices unanimously held, that by virtue of Section 292 of the Constitution, the head of any of the courts in Nigeria, I'm talking of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, Customary Court of Appeal, Sharia Court and the rest of them, cannot be removed without a prior investigation conducted by the National Judicial Council. And that case is applicable to Justice Onoge's fate. So, without going through the NJC, it is difficult to suspend the Chief Justice of Nigeria or any head of court for that man. So those whose tape is being replayed should not insult the intelligence of Nigeria. Please.
All right, let's take a quick pause now, Mr. Falana, and we'll take a break. But before our first break, for this week, our political puzzle is this. Let me quickly show you. Name the states in Nigeria with the highest number of seats in the lower chamber of the National Assembly as House of Representatives, and how many seats they have. It does mean that the states of the Federation do not have equal number of seats in the 360 seats in the Federal House of Representatives. Send your answer to politicstoday@channelstv.com. Keep the answers coming, everyone. We'll take a moment on the program, and when we come back, we'll be looking at some of the reactions trailing the suspension of the CJN. Mr. Falana will be giving us a final remarks on some of these issues. The presidency will also be talking to us. That's after this break, everyone. Join us again.
Are you giving up already about getting admitted into a reputable university this year? Don't be. Take advantage of the 2018-2019 supplementary admissions into Anchor University, Lagos. Your journey to prominence just gets a boost. At Anchor University, you will experience a tertiary education with a global touch designed to make you the best. Our world-class facilities are manned by proven and well-trained workforce committed to sound training and godly lifestyles. Choose from any of our courses in arts, social sciences, sciences and science education. Be a part of a world-class education. Don't miss out. For registration and inquiries, please visit www.aul.edu.ng or call 0906 122 3042 0905 050 0021. Anchor University. Character, competence, courage.
Enter the world of luxury Swiss Street doors. With over 28 years experience, stock is of exquisite historical doors made from the finest ancient aga and ivory wood. A range of exclusive armored doors, elegant interior doors, carefully crafted by the world's renowned architects and engineers. At Swiss Street, a door is much more. Plus, florals and premium quality onyx marbles. Distributors wanted nationwide. Visit Swiss Trade today or call now. Swiss Trade, a blend of beauty and security.
My name is Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, and I'm running for the office of Governor of Lagos State. I'm conversant with the issues of concern to Lagosians, and my aspiration is to work with you to solve these problems. I will prioritize making Lagos State a 21st century economy where the private sector will actively serve as a growth driver. We will create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and to facilitate ease of doing business by providing innovative solutions. Our government will further strengthen the security infrastructure, traffic management system, and expand our transportation network. We promise to partner with the private sector to provide suitable accommodation, well-equipped schools, affordable healthcare, and institute a comprehensive waste management system that guarantees the well-being of Lagosians. Our government, your government, will support the entertainment industry and boost tourism. I would work with you. I will not work against you. Please join me on this journey to make Lagos greater for all of us.
APC Progress!
My name is Chinazo Gochku. I'm from Imo State. I have been doing business in this area since past 7 years without any help. When I had this government something that's helping people, I go to them, they give me money. I have got 50,000 from them and I pay back. I pray to God, let government give to other people so that the money will correspond to everybody. As for myself, I'm very happy, and my family. I pray God to give to other people so that they will enjoy this money with me, and enjoy this government with me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sitting with us right here on the program. The suspension of, well, you will call him the head of Nigerian judiciary. An acting justice has been put in that capacity, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad. Let's get back to the conversation. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, rights activist also. Thank you so much for your thoughts here on the program. If you look at some of the issues that have been raised, again, it will bring us to the fact that where do we go from here? The implications of all of these for the judiciary, for our election that is just around the corner. The question here is that the president and who is also has given his decision on this. So a lot of people are advising the president to withdraw that decision of suspending Justice Walter Onogan. What's your take on that?
I would want to say, first of all, that there is nothing strange in challenging the integrity of judges. It's a global phenomenon. Last year, August, the Deputy Chief Justice of Kenya, Justice Mupura, was arrested in our office in the Supreme Court of that country. 3 years ago, a journalist, because the judiciary of Ghana refused to move against judges who were alleged to be corrupt. A journalist, Anas, went secretly to record judges who were negotiating bribes and taking bribes. and was able to put 34 of them on tape, 12 high court judges and 22 magistrates. They were all flushed out. In fact, the day he was going to show the film in Accra, the tickets sold out. It showed the film at the National Theatre. And so what happens all over the world is that because of the position occupied by judges, they are required to live above board, like Caesar's wife. So in our own case, Nigeria cannot be different. But please, don't give the impression that what is happening here is so strange.
Isn't it?
There's an anathema that we cannot question judges. Even one of my colleagues said, oh, the Chief Justice enjoys immunity. I said, where? Because by virtue of Section 308, those who enjoy immunity are stated there. But at the same time, even if you catch a thief, an armed robbery suspect, red-handed, you must still take him to the police so that he can be tried. If you shout, thief, thief, and the suspect is extrajudicially executed or killed, nobody will talk of armed robbery. We are going to arrest all those who participate in the brutal murder. They're going to be charged with, murder. Therefore, the government must learn to respect due process. You can't fight corruption without following due process. Therefore, I'm going to advise, honestly speaking, that the government should, as a matter of urgency, lift the suspension on the Chief Justice. And since the Chief Justice has so much on his own admitted that he did not declare his assets, he should do the needful by calling it quits.
You mean Justice Onogen should quit the bench?
Should be prepared to quit the bench after the suspension has been lifted. He should be advised.
If he's not found guilty?
Because, no. Yes. Because once you have admitted that I failed in my duty to declare my asset as required by the Constitution, right? You must learn to be civilized. I mean, when people, Nigeria will resign, people distort our history. There was the late Dr. Taishilari. He was the chairman of the Federal Public Complaints Commission. He was driving in Ibadan. As soon as he was accosted by the police, his driving license was demanded because he did not have the license on him. He pleaded with the police and left it at home. I have one. But as soon as he returned to his office, he wrote a letter of resignation. And when the late General Murtala Mohammed, who was the head of state, military head of state at the material time, called him, sir, why? You haven't committed an offense. Since you have 24 hours to produce the license. Say no. What I've done is a bad example. And so I have no choice but to quit. So we must learn to quit offices when we have made mistakes, colossal mistakes, as in this case.
All right. So, let me, for a moment, switch to our Abuja studio. Mr. Falana, just a moment. Let me go to the President's Special Assistant on Media, Mr. Garba Shehu, who joins us now, because there's been a lot of widespread criticism and reactions on the decision of the President to suspend the CJN. And we would like to know what the President's reaction is on the response, for example, from the United States Embassy, which is saying that the decision is unconstitutional and that it undermines the independence of the judicial branch. He's saying that he's noting the widespread criticism from Nigeria and that it undercuts the stated determination of government candidates and political party leaders to ensure that the elections proceed in a way that is free and fair and transparent and peaceful, leading to a credible post. And they did say such action is needed urgently now to ensure that this decision does not cast appall over the electoral process. Mr. Shehu, what's his reaction of the presidency to the several reactions from the international community?
Well, let me first of all say that, you know, in the relationships between nations, these are governed by certain norms, conventions. Among these is also the fact that you don't meddle in the internal affairs of one another. And I think this is why, since the new American president came into office about 2 years ago, there has been so much quarrel between them and Russia because one country is accusing the other of meddling in their own elections. In our statement, we did say we are interested in being assisted to improve our elections and to grow our democracy. However, where these attempts aimed at dividing our people or sowing seeds of discontent or trouble, no, this government will not accept. In this particular instance, most of the argument put against us by those foreign countries says that this is the wrong time. 3 weeks to elections, you don't do a thing like this. And I think that if they are fair to us, they should know that in our own laws, a policeman can make arrest on Christmas Day. He can make arrest on Salah Day or on Sunday. There's no holy day on which you cannot apprehend, criminals. So our laws should be allowed to work, and the president acted upon a directive by a code of law recognized by our own constitution, and so therefore our president has done no wrong.
Does President Buhari see these as meddling in our internal affairs by these international officials?
They will they will not have accepted this in their own countries, and some groups, the Murik, for instance, the Muslim rights concern, gave a very intelligent statement on this matter, saying, if, for instance, the Lord Chief Justice of the UK were to be found to have money in excess of their own incomes deposited in bank accounts, or the Chief Judge of the United States Supreme Court found to have lived above means or had stashed huge sums of money that cannot be accounted for, they will not have accepted it. In our own case, whether someone was imperiled by a sense of guilt or whatever it was, there was a written admission that I am mistaken or that I forgot to do this duty prescribed by the Constitution. So, as a matter of fact, it's a settled matter. I'm not even sure investigation is warranted in the circumstance because there is an admission. And the thing then would have been, if anybody cared about the institutions, if you are concerned that you embody the integrity and the well-being of the country's jurisprudence, I would have thought that, as Falana said a short while ago, someone should have resigned and allowed the country, to enjoy her peace and relieve the judiciary of this unnecessary and enormously, problematic burden.
Mr. Shehu, this government, your government, has been criticized of not following due process by the opposition and some other interested bodies in the country, especially when this case emerged and it all started. And now there are ethnic connotations brought into this. Is President willing to reconsider his decision over Justice Walter Onnoghen?
I am not sure there is any sense around the villa that somebody will go back on this one. It is not warranted. So what are you asking government to do? To ask Justice Onnoghen to go back to the Supreme Court tomorrow and jail somebody for not declaring their assets? Is that how to run a country's judiciary? I'm not sure that should be expected.
But as it stands right now, the legal bodies are saying they're going to react in some ways. The NJC is having an emergency meeting tomorrow. The Nigerian Bar Association is having an emergency meeting tomorrow. There's been a lot of groups who are coming together who are protesting the decision of the president. Is the president weary of what may be a backlash from what is being perceived as a political intimidation from the government against the opposition perceived?
It is wrong to see this as a political intimidation of anyone. The president needs not to intimidate anyone because in any case, he has no case before any judge. And so therefore, the accusation is absolutely unnecessary and unfounded.
As it stands right now, Mr. Shehu, if you look at a whole lot of issues that have been raised, from the issue raised by this Serap is giving NJC 5-day ultimatum and is also asking the federal government to make a decision to retract what he has done on the case of Justice Onogen. With all of this, and there are also, Mr. Falana here has also said that the decision of the CCT on that court order is faulted. There have been flawed process all along in all of this. Those are the criticisms coming from legal minds. On this situation, is there going to be some kind of consideration made by the president, or are you saying that this will never happen?
The sense we have is that I'm not sure I have read anyone saying that a chief justice or any judge for that matter, or any public officer covered by the Constitution is entitled to not declare their assets over and over again, as in this case, and to be found, because as it is now, don't forget that the case against the Chief Justice is on the non-declaration of assets. Investigation is still ongoing as to how those assets themselves were acquired. That's a different thing altogether. So no, apparently Nigerians are just concerned that President Muhammadu Buhari is not doing this in a very nice way. But are we concerned about niceties or doing the right things? And so therefore, it is absolutely unacceptable under our own laws, and take it from me, President Muhammadu Buhari will not run away from this case.
But are you worried? Is this government, sorry if I'm aborting, is this government worried about some appellation given to it when it comes to rule of law? There's some criticism that we are drifting into a dictatorial era, and that this is a coup on Nigeria's democracy. Former President Obasanjo did say that this government, with this attempt or approach to rule of law, can be compared to the dictatorial period of Sani Abacha. Is this government worried about those things?
Let me say that those people who are saying that we are drifting into dictatorship, they have fallen into amnesia. They have forgotten what actually is dictatorship is. Look, let me tell you, in the last 24, 48 hours, if you have read newspaper editorials, some of them calling for uprising against the government of Nigeria, some of them saying we must see the end of President Muhammadu Buhari, and nothing has happened to them. Is that to tell you that a dictatorship is looming? A dictatorship would have clamped down on people. So therefore, that's absolutely incorrect. And I think that the excesses are there for everyone to see. And certainly it's out of place for anybody to accuse President Muhammadu Buhari of dictatorship. Those tendencies are not there. Right. In this particular instance, there is a validly given court order. People are questioning the integrity of that order. I have no competence to say yes or no on that. But the president of Nigeria cannot lie on this matter. We have a validly given court order saying, ask this gentleman to go on suspension, swear in the most senior person. And this he has done, and this is the law of this country.
Let me ask Mr. Falana, your reaction to what the international communities are saying about, are you worried about the comments made by the US, the UK, and the European Union Election Monitoring Group?
I'm not worried over their statements. I'm not worried. But right now, these same countries are about invading Venezuela, contrary to all norms of international law. So I'm not going to celebrate the hypocrisy of Western countries. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the Constitution of Nigeria is concerned, what has been done has to be reviewed. In the case of the US, last year, 4 members of the Wisconsin Supreme Court were indicted by a jury on 11 counts of bordering on corruption, tax evasion, and the rest of them. And the 4 of them had to be impeached. So, like I said, it's a global phenomenon. So let none of these countries insult us. I believe that under our Constitution, I mean, please, United States President, Mr. Trump, describes some judges in America as the so-called judge giving an order against my government. Don't let's go there. For us as a people, I've listened to Mr. Shehu Gaba. There's no way, with profound respect, and I do hope our colleagues in the government, and there are 12 lawyers in this government, 3 of them are senior advocates of Nigeria, will advise the government to review this matter. It cannot stand. In the interest of the country, the government will need the courts. The government is prosecuting people in the courts. Election petition tribunals have been set up. The APC, PDP, all of them will go there. But please, don't let's trivialize this matter by saying, oh, because they have called the president a dictator, nobody has been arrested, therefore there is no dictatorship. No. We shouldn't descend to that level. When you talk of nice city, people are talking about nice city, morality is involved. I have said before Mr. Garba Shehu came on board that the Chief Justice has admitted, and like Professor Akoyebo, they said there are a couple of whispers. Forgetfulness is not a defense under our criminal law. So please, let us agree that a mistake has been made. And I'm saying on both sides, people forum shopping for others. Both sides are guilty. We must be honest with ourselves. What we now should do is to review the conduct of each of the parties involved in this exercise, this embarrassing episode, so that the country can move on. Right. But when you're talking of, some people talking of coup and the rest of, wasn't there a coup in Kwara State when the chief judge was illegally removed? All right, Mr. Falana, we need to go now, but just in 30 seconds, in one breath. If you can, and please, I beg you. Yeah. I beg you. Yeah. Like I said earlier, a sitting governor was removed on the basis of an ex-party order in Anambra State, Dr. Chris Ngig, who is a minister, instigated by President Obasanjo. Right. So I want you to say this in one sentence so that we can close this segment. The National Assembly is going to meet on Tuesday. The Senate. To what effect or implication could that be for this process? Just quickly. I expect them to, the National Assembly or the Senate, to ask for a review of this suspension in a way that we can return to constitutionalism and rule of law. And the government does not lose anything. The law is so clear on this matter that we shouldn't resort to any ambush or jungle justice. Right. We cannot do that. Mr. Femi Falana, it's always a pleasure. I sometimes one will wish to have you for 2, 3, 4 hours on this kind of issues. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you very much. Mr. Garba Shehu, thank you so much for coming on tonight. But we take a moment, and when we come back, now that the National Assembly plans to reconvene and the barrage of response from the international community, we get reactions from the opposition party. Is the 2000 elections the catch? Find out after this.
Are you giving up already about getting admitted into a reputable university this year? Don't be. Take advantage of the 2018-2019 supplementary admissions into Anchor University, Lagos. Your journey to prominence just gets a boost. At Anchor University, you will experience a tertiary education with a global touch designed to make you the best. Our world-class facilities are manned by proven and well-trained workforce, committed to sound training and godly lifestyles. Choose from any of our courses in arts, social sciences, sciences and science education. Be a part of a world-class education. Don't miss out. For registration and inquiries, please visit www.aul.edu.ng or call 0906 122 3042 0905 050 0021. Anchor University. Character, competence, courage.
Enter the world of luxury Swiss Street doors. With over 28 years experience, Stock is of exquisite historical doors made from the finest ancient aga and ivory wood. A range of exclusive armored doors, elegant interior doors, carefully crafted by the world's renowned architects and engineers. At Swiss Street, a door is much more. Plus, florals and premium quality onyx marbles. Distributors wanted nationwide. Visit Swiss Trade today or call now. Swiss Trade, a blend of beauty and security.
My name is Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, and I'm running for the office of Governor of Lagos State. I'm conversant with the issues of concern to Lagosians, and my aspiration is to work with you to solve these problems. I will prioritize making Lagos State a 21st century economy where the private sector will actively serve as a growth driver. We will create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and to facilitate ease of doing business by providing innovative solutions. Our government will further strengthen the security infrastructure, traffic management system, and expand our transportation network. We promise to partner with the private sector to provide suitable accommodation, well-equipped schools, affordable healthcare, and institute a comprehensive waste management system that guarantees the well-being of Lagosians. Our government, your government, will support the entertainment industry and boost tourism. I would work with you. I will not work against you. Please join me on this journey to make Lagos greater for all of us.
Equation wa APC Progress.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Let's get back to our Abuja studio, where we have Mr. Kasim Afegbua, one of the spokespersons of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, joins us now. Your party has been much more involved and concerned about the ongoings in the Nigerian judiciary, especially the suspension of the CJN. It does look like the Minister of Information did say that they are worried why your party is much more concerned about this. But with what is happening, what is your party's immediate decision, perhaps tomorrow?
Well, the party's position is simply that two wrongs do not make a right. If you say you are fighting corruption and you want to whip everybody in line, you have to also follow due process. I have listened to your earlier guests, the CJN Femi Falana and the spokesman of government, Garba Shehu. What they failed to establish, particularly Garba Shehu, is the fact that, well, fine, you say a man has committed a crime, you say he has committed an offense, you are also abusing the procedures of law to mete out punishment on him. Because just like CJN Femi Falana said, ex parte order cannot stand in this case. So if you are so much in a haste to apply ex parte order to mete out punishment on the CJN, we also expect you to take appropriate action when similar cases of this nature occurred. Don't forget that now you say you should step aside and the most senior person should take position. But you have forgotten that the act setting up the CCT, Code of Conduct Tribunal, this states that in Section 3B that if you admit to a mistake, an error in your submissions, in your asset declaration, then the matter is settled. But these days, they want to apply the laws, haphazardly so that they will achieve their ulterior motive. And what is that motive? The motive is that they just want to get rid of the judiciary, inflict maximum fear in the system so that when elections come in February 16 and this government is voted out of power, then they can unleash mayhem on the system. And that is why Lai Mohammed ab initio raised an alarm, a very false alarm, that opposition were trying to create an interim government. And so, for us, you do not say you are fighting corruption, you are using corruption to fight corruption. It has to follow due process, because even the CCT you are using is an inferior court of inferior jurisdiction, whether you like it or not. In the Constitution, it was not listed in Section 6 of the Constitution of Nigeria as number of courts that are recognized. Of course, Section 153, Section 158, and Section 292 also stated categorically this procedure you will take to deal with any CJN. And the role of the NJC has been completely eliminated in this case. So I wouldn't know what manner of expertise order you are getting without giving the man a fair hearing, a man who has also approached the CC tribunal with his lawyers and all of that. All of a sudden, you said you are suspending him.
To what effect is the suspension of your presidential campaign? Your party has come out to say it will suspend its campaign for 72 hours. To what effect is this?
It is not about to what effect. It's about, it's like a wake-up call on Nigerians to see what is happening in the country, to see that this government has become lawless, and lugubriously so, very, very obvious, it's become lawless. This government hardly respects outcomes of court verdicts. You know, before now, bills have been given to persons. This government will ever refuse to respect those bail conditions, those bills. The former NSA was given bail. It was refused. The head of the Shahid movement, Zaki, was given bail. The government refused. So now you're going through the back door to use an expertise order to suspend the CJN is just a wake-up call to the international community and not to Nigerians that we are getting into the era that former President Obasanjo said is Abacha era of dictatorship, era of tyranny, era of illegality. You know, whether you like it or not, a government that wants to fight anti-corruption must respect due process, must be seen to respect due process, and must apply the laws as it affects the law and not the whims and caprices of the individual representing the position of president of the country. No, you are not. Law is not made at the convenience of anyone. We all know that. But in this instance, you have to ensure that anybody who comes to law, you come with clean hands. Now the government has deliberately used the CCTV in the expertise order when there are other orders of superior courts to this particular CCTV expertise order. So you now begin to wonder of what use is that particular expertise order if it is not to service the whims and caprices of the government in power. All right. With respect to the elections of 2019.
Kasim, let me quickly ask you this. You mentioned Lai Mohammed, and in a statement you released, he was asking the question, asking your party. He said he wondered why the PDP is crying more than the bereaved, and asked the opposition party whether Justice Onogen is one of its members.
No, but of course you should know Lai Mohammed, Nigerians know him too well. I wouldn't want to even call him names, but we are for the Nigerian people. This government has since become a cabal, and a cabal cannot service the interests of Nigerians. Nigerians are going to use the 2019 election as a referendum against some of these illegalities, some of these, abuse of due process, some of these procedural errors. Whether Lai Mohammed says whether we are crying more than the bereaved, one thing that is fundamental is the fact that the process applied in the suspension and summary inauguration of Tanko Mohammed as CJN are completely an abuse of office, an abuse of procedure, abuse of due process. And once you don't apply due process, whatever you have done becomes a nullity.
Mr. Afegua,
from now to tomorrow as a government is still material to us.
Okay. I must sincerely thank you for your time tonight, Mr. Afegua, for coming on the show tonight. Thank you so much, Kasim Afegua, one of the spokespersons of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. But that's our show for today, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm Shion Wakimale. Bye-bye.
Now Buhari we know, say Baba. APC we know, vote Baba. Buhari be the man we go take our country to the next level, next level. Now Buhari we know, finish waiting you start to. Buhari mukeso, everybody day your back oh. Buhari kaichoro for good governance. Oh yeah, Baba my lord. Infrastructure, Buhari mukeso. Security, agriculture, Buhari kaichoro. Progress in anti-corruption, oh yeah, Baba my lord. For good economy, now Buhari we know. Social investment, empowerment scheme, and good governance. Vote for Buhari.
This message is powered by Good Governance Ambassadors of Nigeria. Go again.